Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. In today's presentation, Chad Collette, Director of Marketing at Ledgeview Partners, will walk you through our 12-step guide to getting started with lead nurturing. Before I let him dive into this exciting and comprehensive presentation, however, I have a few quick housekeeping notes to cover. So sit back, relax, sip your coffee, and I'll run over a few things. Before I tell you more, I should introduce myself. I'm Julia Flaherty, Digital Marketing Specialist at Ledgeview Partners. We are a business and technology consulting firm who partners with organizations to transform sales, marketing, and customer service operations and processes supported by core technologies, including customer relationship management and marketing automation. Our certified experts provide strategic business advice to clients, process definition, and technology solutions that advance business processes forward, helping you to achieve your unique business goals in sales, marketing, customer service, and CRM. For those of you that have been on our webinars before, welcome back. And for all of you newbies, thank you for joining us for the first time. We can't wait to see you back for more. We'll be taking up about a half hour of your time today. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the live session. All of you will receive a follow-up email after the webinar is complete with a link to access the presentation. So if you haven't already, I suggest adding at ledgeviewpartners.com to your safe senders list to ensure you have no trouble getting the email. Or if you happen to find any email from us in your spam folder, please mark it as not spam. We encourage you to share this within your company and professional networks. To ensure the best audio quality, we have all of you on listen-only mode, but if you do have a question or comment, go ahead and submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will be sure to follow up with you afterwards. At Ledgeview, we have a lot of excellent resources to offer you when you're interested in learning more about our comprehensive services in customer service, sales, marketing, and CRM, from a variety of ebooks, infographics, to blogs and case studies. So after this webinar, you can go and check them out at ledgeviewpartners.com. All right, now that that's out of the way, it's time to introduce Chad Collette, today's presenter. Chad has prepared a great presentation for you. If you've yet to hear one of his presentations, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce him to you now. Chad is the marketing director here at Ledgeview Partners, who does many things within the digital marketing sphere day in and day out. From website management to lead generation to nurture campaigns to content management and much, much more. And somehow he still manages to be super involved with soccer and being an all-star dad. So now that you know a little more about Chad, it's time to welcome him and let him get things started and teach you about what you really came here for today.
Thank you so much, Julia, for that amazing introduction. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk about lead nurturing and 12 steps or best practices that can set you up for success with your program. It was really difficult to get it down to just 12 steps, and that we only have 30 minutes means we'll hit these at a very high level. Now don't worry, I'm confident that you'll still take home quite a few concepts that you can put into play right now. Now, building these nurture campaigns is a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I mean, it's no walk in the park. And I don't want you to think these are 12 magic bullets that will just launch your program tomorrow. Because it's a lot of work is why so many companies either, one, don't do lead nurturing, or two, skip several steps, which really affects their outcome. And this is evident in this statistic. According to an Acton research study, 61% of B2B marketers are sending all leads directly to sales, and only 27% of those are actually qualified or ready to talk to sales. Do you see the major issues associated with this? I mean, these numbers don't benefit marketing, sales, or the company. Now, before we dive into my 12 steps, or tips as they should be known, let's first take a step back and look at the lead definitions. Now, a lead by definition is someone that you've identified or they've identified themselves as being a fit for your product or your service. If we take a look at this deeper and look at marketing qualified leads as someone who has really raised their hand and identified themselves as being interested in learning more about your product or service, but they might not necessarily be ready to purchase. Now, for example, let's say that you work in the real estate industry and I became a lead in your CRM or marketing automation system. I became a lead when I filled out a form on your website indicating that I was interested in information on condos for sale in, let's say, Fort Myers Beach. Nice and warm there. On the form, I indicated that I had an interest in purchasing in the next 2 to 3 years, unless, of course, winters get worse and worse, and we're here in Wisconsin. So anyway, while this is a lead for your real estate business, I would not consider it a hot lead that your sales team should be following up on right away. However, this is certainly a marketing qualified lead, and the marketing department should have a set plan to nurture this lead with information about condos for sale until the point in time that the triggers indicate that a one-to-one conversation is appropriate. And then that lead can be assigned to the sales team for follow-up. The biggest change here is one of really discipline and patience. Not every prospect that contacts you is ready to buy now. If you are currently sending all of your leads to the sales team and they are quickly disqualifying them because they do not have an immediate buying intent, or if you have leads that have indicated that they're not ready to purchase right now, what are you doing with them? Are you waiting for them to contact you when they're ready? Or maybe your sales team has a phone call reminder set up to touch base every 6 months. It's a mistake to ignore your prospects that are not ready to buy yet. In most cases, this prospect will purchase from either you or your competition within the next 24 months. So don't you want to find a way to stay connected and top of mind when they're ready? Lead nurturing lets you stay engaged. Now, if you're new to this, it's imperative that you have a strong understanding of how these leads are converted into revenue. To do this, you need to understand your target market, what their purchasing behaviors are, and how you can solve their problem. This is critical to knowing which leads need to be nurtured and who is ready for a sales call. While there's no exact formula, organizations will have different criteria from what an MQL and an SQL are defined as. The key takeaway is that it's important to have a definition within your organization rather than treating all these leads as equal. By aligning your sales and marketing, the focus is on high quality leads, which will lead to increased conversion rates and a more efficient sales process. One aspect to that alignment, and step number one, is knowing the difference between marketing automation and CRM, and how marketing and sales utilize each of these solutions. From the start, marketing automation helps to foster leads and get them ready for the sales team. Once the lead has progressed through the bottom of the funnel and become a qualified sales lead, and hopefully ultimately a customer, that's when companies track their interactions through a CRM. While CRMs have evolved tremendously over the years and are nearly unlimited in possibilities at its core, CRMs store information like how long a contact has been a lead, a prospect, or a customer, records all their opportunities, order history of purchases they've made in the past, dates and notes of phone calls, emails, and social conversations you've had with them, records inbound emails and to your sales and also your customer service teams, and a whole lot more. When it comes to marketing automation and CRM, the choices seem endless. These G2 crowd grids provide a plethora of options, including leaders in marketing automation such as HubSpot, Acton, Pardot, and many others. On the CRM side, we see a lot of familiar names, which include two of our favorites, Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics 365. Now, in some cases, you'll find that CRM software has limited marketing automation features, and vice versa for marketing automation technology. But to realize the full benefits of these systems, most companies operate both a marketing automation system and a CRM system. However, the most successful companies use these two technologies together and provide an integration or a connector between the two. Since it's marketing's nurturing leads for the sales team, we're going to focus on marketing automation today. We see many companies who may have marketing automation but simply just use it for emails. Marketing automation is much more than just sending emails. At the core, it's simply technology that helps streamline, automate, and measure marketing activities across your channels. Or said another way, it's the engine that ensures that the right message gets to the right person at the right time. Thinking back to all those companies listed in the G2 grid, a good marketing automation solution will provide not only email marketing, but things like web tracking, lead scoring, nurture or drip marketing, campaign tracking, forms, surveys, landing pages, and definitely CRM integration, and much more. If I need to prove my point any further, here's a few relevant statistics for your marketing automation plan. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to highlight number 3. It's my favorite. 80% of marketing automation users see an increase in the number of leads, and 77% had an increase in conversions. I mean, it speaks highly to the power of marketing automation and how it helps you meet and hopefully exceed your goals. Now, when developing your lead nurturing strategy, before we can start to create and send all those messages, it all starts with establishing your goals. At the end of the day, what do you want to accomplish? Why are you developing a lead nurturing strategy at all? I believe for most organizations, these high-level goals are fairly universal when it comes to lead nurturing. Using lead nurturing programs will help you create better engagement with your target buyer and ultimately increase your conversion rates and turn new and even larger scale opportunities. These are just a few examples of lead nurturing KPIs that you may want to consider for each campaign you're executing. Things like delivery, open, and click rates, your conversion rates or number of marketing qualified leads that are generated. Take time as you're planning to set your goals as you execute your campaign so you can effectively measure your goals versus your actual performance indicators. Now, if you're new to this, it may be difficult to put some initial goal estimates together, but start somewhere and you can adjust as you go. With some goals and KPIs in place, it's time to connect with our buyer. Now, that doesn't mean we're ready to actually jump on the keyboard and connect with them. It's important to take the time up front to develop your buyer's personas. Remember, patience is a true virtue for marketers. Developing buyer personas is one of the key steps that many organizations bypass because they think they know their customer is ready and they don't need to do this, or that it's already done. Building your buyer's persona or profile is key in the beginning, or your lead nurturing messages may miss the mark completely. Depending on your industry and your suite of products, solutions, or services, you may actually have a different buyer profile for each of those product segments. Has your business evolved over the last few years? Even if you've created a buyer persona in the past, it's a good idea to verify that who you think is your target buyer still holds true. Take the time to do this exercise, and don't do it in a silo. Engage with your sales team or others in your company that may play a critical role to learn more about your buyer, the decision maker that you ultimately want to reach. What roles or titles are you seeking? What is their background or demographics? What are the goals, their wants, their needs, the challenges that this buyer faces on a daily basis? How can the product or service that you are offering help them directly? With input from sales, what are the common objections that they hear? In this nurturing campaign, it's a prime opportunity to counter those objections early by how you position yourself. As I said, this step is one that just far too many companies simply bypass. They say, oh, we target the VP of sales, but then fail to complete the rest of the worksheet, leaving huge gaps in their marketing potential. With your target buyer in mind, it's time to decide how you're going to differentiate them from others in your database within your lead nurturing program. And that's when lead scoring comes into play. Starting at the top, for anybody unfamiliar, lead scoring is a valuable shared sales and marketing methodology for ranking leads and prospects to determine their sales readiness. As you take a look at your database of leads and prospects, you can create lead scoring models across kind of two main types, explicit and implicit. When we think about lead scoring, many companies jump right to the implicit scoring, and they kind of leapfrog right over explicit. If you take a look at your lead list, how many fit your target buyer? You know, that exercise we just talked about? With explicit lead scoring, you can score a lead or a prospect based on who they are. That VP of sales buyer you really want to target will get a much higher score than a sales manager or a sales rep. Are they in the territory? Does the company size match your target? The list goes on. From an implicit model, and this is the fun one, how are they engaging with you? Are they visiting your website, clicking on your emails, downloading your ebooks, or attending your demos? Let's take a couple minutes just to dive deeper into each of these, starting with the explicit scoring model. Keep in mind, all this information should be in your CRM. By completing your buyer profiles, you know who you want to target. So as leads and prospects enter your CRM and marketing automation list, you can determine how interested you are in them. Is it worth keeping them on your list at all? Carefully consider all the details that are important to you and how you want to score and ultimately segment these leads. And when it comes time to score these leads, the points, they're up to you. Make sure that you vary your lead scores if specific job titles or purchasing authority is key to your target buyer. You can see examples here of how we score a VP or director different than a manager. Some people may use a scale of 1 to 50 to get to a marketing qualified lead, and some may go 1 to 500. The choice is yours. But don't forget to also take advantage of negative lead scoring if they don't fit your profile. And this will help keep them off your radar. Switching gears, let's quickly talk about implicit scoring models. How marketers identify how engaged the lead or prospect is with you, with your marketing, and with your content. This is where your marketing automation really comes into play and all the amazing information it can provide to you. Taking just a dozen options here, here's what your scoring model could look like. Less points for minimal action and greater points for focused engagement. Completing a form, spending time on a webinar, like all you folks are doing. Going from a standalone landing page to your website to learn more. As a marketer, it's exciting to see that your content that you slaved over is being absorbed by your leads. But just like the explicit model, please, we encourage you to use some negative scoring as well for those that say maybe you're looking for a job, working for your company versus with your company. And with that lead scoring in place, this really gives us a lot of options to segment our audiences as we build our lead nurturing programs. But there's so many ways to segment your database that it's impossible to list them all. But we can break down into 4 main categories: geographic, demographic, behavioral, and psychographic. Now, these are just a few ways that you can segment your list based on each category. And these can also and often are combined. Let's say you're looking for a target buyer on the West Coast who's a VP of marketing and is actively engaged in your content. This will allow you to personalize the experience for this specific segment you're targeting with the lead nurturing. And it kind of goes without saying these days, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your lead nurturing should not be the one-size-fits-all approach. Doing that will be reflected in the results you experience. And to personalize that experience, we need content that is important to them. IT managers and sales managers have different needs. They have different challenges, and they have different motivations. The content that you choose to send should be aligned to the specific target audience that you're trying to reach, as well as the sales stage that they are currently in and the sales stage that you're trying to move them towards. Now, here's a small sample list of content that may be relevant to the nurture campaigns you're building. What assets do you currently have? Do you have a list of your assets? Do you have ebooks, promotional videos, webinars, or case studies? And do they relate to your target audience, your target buyer? Do they relate to the nurture campaign you want to run? Do they relate to the ultimate goals you have? Are these assets dated? Are they still relevant? It's time to take stock in what you have. So roll up your sleeves and dig into your content library, or realize that you need a content library. At this point, you need to know what you have to work with. This simple exercise will help identify gaps in content and may affect the timeline that you release your nurture campaign if you need time to develop additional resources. Knowing your target buyer and how they like to absorb content is key, and having that content contain the right information to help them overcome their challenges, position your product or solution, and have a strong call to action. Developing content scares many people, but having these assets will definitely set you apart from your competition. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I'd love to help, but I'm definitely not a writer"? Many people think that creating all these assets is time-consuming and expensive. Well, it definitely can be, but it doesn't have to be. I know so many companies that do webinars every single month, but they don't have a blog, infographics, ebooks, or promo videos. The content has already been created in your webinar. For example, at LedgeView, we've taken a single hour-long webinar and we've turned it into a 7 ebook series with accompanying infographics, promo videos, blogs, and I think thousands of social media posts. And that's all just from taking content that we already had created in place and turned around. And the turnaround that we did on that was faster than you can imagine. As you analyze the content, you need to know if you have the right pieces to match the buyer's journey that you want to create for your target buyer. Now, this is a great infographic from marketing automation provider Acton that I just love to share. It outlines a content strategy based on the sales stage as you move your leads down the funnel from the awareness or attract stage all the way to marketing qualified and beyond. As you assess your content and determine what you need, the content should map to the buyer stage and help bring them down the marketing funnel. Again, these stages may not map specifically to you, but it's a good check against your current process or a guideline as one is developed. At that top of the funnel, at the awareness or attract stage, you want to focus on the problem and pain points that buyers are experiencing. Do that through social media, surveys, blog posts, infographics, and simple webinars. As their lead score increases and they get interested, focus on your solution by educating the leads and prospects with contents like ebooks, checklists, videos, some events, both live and on-demand webinars. And as they move to the evaluation or the consideration stage, show them what it's like to work with you. Maybe offer them demos, trials, case studies, or product or solution comparisons. As you make them marketing qualified leads and get ready to pass them along to sales. But at this point, marketing's job is not done. As sales engages with them, marketing can continue to provide content in that purchase phase to validate their decision, and with additional content like more webinars. And as they move to the post-purchase or repurchase stage using content, it'll keep them up to date with your products and solution. And it'll also assure user adoption with continuous learning and loyalty programs. Now, one example at LedgeView, we hold monthly CRM user group webinars. And in those, we focus on a specific training topic each month and kind of field how-to questions. This keeps users continuously learning, engage with the product, engage with LedgeView, as well as learning about all the new enhancements that are coming they can take advantage of and how LedgeView can be assistance to them. As your lead or prospect or even your customers move through the buyer's journey, they will continue to engage. They'll continue to increase their lead scores, and keep in mind lead scores for prospects and customers as well, which we discussed earlier. Segment into newly engaged groups and get closer to being marketing qualified and sales ready. And not to get off topic, but this just doesn't include new leads, like I said. Automated campaigns have a wide range of uses to keep your contacts engaged with you. Sales-ready prospects, new and existing customers, and many others. Now that you have all the moving pieces, it's time to start drafting your lead nurturing program and start building a relationship with your prospective customers. The look and the feel of the technology will differ a bit, but for most part, they'll accomplish the same things. As you build the emails needed for your nurture and the buyer's journey, I got a few best practices to keep in mind. As you develop your automated campaign, the actual setup will vary based on the marketing automation solutions that you're using. But you will need to create their emails for each of these campaigns. And it all starts with the subject line. I mean, that's what's going to get your email opened. A few best practices to consider are avoiding keywords associated with spam email, like using words free or help or % off or sale. Did you know that 69% of emails are flagged as spam just because of the subject line? You want to include content of interest inside your subject line when appropriate. For example, if you're creating your September sales promotional email, you might want to state in the subject line what it contains that's different from August. You want to keep it short, both the subject line and the body of your email message, unless you do know that your target buyer maybe responds to a lot of text. And really avoid tricking the reader into opening your email. It's not going to build trust. Let them know what the email contains and what they can expect. And of course, A/B testing of your email subject line is a must. But A/B testing goes way beyond just testing your email subject lines as we get deeper into step 9. Think about your from address. Will your target buyer be more receptive to receiving email from your company or from a person? Test the body content, including opening lines, use of different graphics and calls to action, the day and time that you send your emails. However, many marketing automation solutions now, and even some CRM solutions, are using predictive analytics to send emails at the optimal time your recipients may have the best chance to engage with them. And it goes beyond email. Because your emails only do so much, it is rare these days that someone will immediately pick up the phone based on an email send. Many times they're sent to a landing page, typically with a gated form to gain access to some of your awesome content. Now, similar to email, A/B test your landing page copy, your headlines, your graphics, and also your calls to action. And for your forms, utilize your marketing automation technology to pre-fill forms, making it easier to complete those forms. Or better yet, use progressive profiling. That'll keep your questions to a minimum, as it only asks the information you've not collected yet. Depending on your audience, one method may work better than the other, but you want to trust the results, even if it crushes your spirits a little bit because you know that email or landing page that you thought would just be an absolute winner and it just didn't make the cut. Now, in order to even get our emails read, we also need to make sure that we get the cadence right. Here's a few basic best practices to consider. First, don't overdo it. Based on your target buyer, your promotion, your industry, and other components you need, you got to find the right mix of messages to send and the frequency. Odds are people don't want to wake up to one of your emails every single morning. If you see a spike in your unsubscribe rate, you may be sending too many emails. Space them out. Allow time for them to digest and react to your content. Select the date and time you want someone to receive your first message. If you bypass this step and they get added to a marketing campaign, let's say at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night, that could trigger the first message. You need to know your buyers and when they typically open and engage with your emails. For instance, for B2B marketers, open rates are typically the highest mid-mornings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But you also need to consider factors like the cadence, if they'll be receiving multiple emails over a shorter period of time. Consider tracking and using send features that include time zones. If you're on the East Coast and you have customers on the West Coast or internationally, consider when they will receive this email. Sending it at 9 a.m. your time doesn't always work for all your leads and prospects. And as I mentioned in the A/B testing, you want to make sure your messages are going out on dates and times that are optimal, not only to be open, but have engagement and action. Now, this is a few years old, but testing never gets old. As you can see here, an overwhelming 68% of digital marketers rated the ability to test new campaigns as having the greatest impact on their marketing efforts. The world is moving faster than ever, and buyers have so much more information these days than marketers have to rely on testing to ensure that they stay ahead of the curve. And while we want success, we will have failures, but we don't want lost leads. So we need a process to close that loop. You worked really hard on this nurture, but the fact is that not everyone's going to engage with you. They may not open your emails. They may not click on your emails, and they may not advance through the buyer's journey as you'd planned. Once a lead finishes with a specific nurture program, they're often left out in the cold, neglected and lost, just cluttering up your marketing list. Try pushing them into a new nurture with new calls to action. Evaluate and see if they were maybe missegmented and the content didn't resonate. Or maybe it's time to move on and you just have to deactivate that lead. Any way you decide to go, make sure you have a strategy where non-moving leads go after their nurture and if they're stuck in one spot of the funnel. Now, at the beginning, we started on setting our goals. As you create and execute your lead nurturing program, you want to continually monitor and measure the results. Make changes as needed based on what worked and what didn't. And yes, you will have nurture failures along with many successes. The key is to measure, learn, and adjust off of both. Measure what goals you did hit or you exceeded. How did that happen? Which ones did you fall short on, and can you pinpoint why that happened? Was there a tactic or a piece of content that worked well that really surprised you? Or did you encounter any gaps in the experience that you need to adjust, and what questions came up? And maybe these are questions that are either internally or external that you can build on. If you were not on board before with marketing automation campaigns, which I'm guessing you were because you're on this webinar, you can see that lead nurturing emails get 4 to 10 times the response rate compared to those standalone email blasts. I mean, how do we know this? We measure the results. Now, I'm at my time limit, so I hope these 12 steps, tips, or best practices, however you want to call them, can help guide you. They can get you excited and confident about lead nurturing. Now, as I mentioned, there's no silver bullet, no magic 8-ball, but just hard work to pull it all together and to execute with success. But if done correctly, the reward can be tremendous. Now, as a recap, here are my 12 areas that you need to make sure that you include when you're developing your lead nurturing strategy in your program. And I know I mentioned this a few times in the beginning and throughout, but please don't do it in a silo. Use your lead nurturing program to create a strong bond between sales and marketing. And don't skip any of these areas. You'll only be skipping out on potential revenue. All right, as I said, I'm at my time limit, but I appreciate you spending it with me. I could have named at least probably another 12 tips for lead nurturing, and maybe we'll have to do another webinar to follow up on those, but take those and use those and be the best you can with them. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. All my contact information is on your screen, and yes, you'll all be getting an email from me after the event as well, so you'll have it in your inbox. So now with that, I want to turn it back over to Julia to close it out and give you some of the great content and resources from LedGev Partners.
All right, thanks for all of that wonderful information, Chad. Lead nurturing is such a powerful strategy that so many organizations can leverage to produce more effective outcomes. And I know our audience has many actionable takeaways to apply once they log off today. But before you hit that button, I have some awesome things to share with you if you'll give me one more minute of your time. We have published a few new ebooks this month recently about applying inbound and outbound marketing principles to your organization's strategies, and have many recent ebooks on the concepts of lead nurturing, lead scoring, sales and marketing alignment, the power of marketing automation, how to select the right marketing automation system for you, and if you can believe it, even more than that. So I encourage you to go to ledgeviewpartners.com and download your own complimentary copies of all those that interest you. Finally, if you missed it in my intro, we did record today's presentation, and we'll be sending you all a link to access this webinar on demand. You can go ahead and share that within your professional networks, and that email is going to be coming from Chad Collette. With any questions you have that didn't get answered during today's presentation, you can also expect a follow-up on those. All right, that's all today, folks. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe to our blog to keep updated with future webinars, and we'll be back soon. Have a great day.